Welcome, everyone. This is Pine Leaf Needles, and you're listening to Lotro Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in Lotro and here at Lotro Players. And this week we have with us Terry Adwin,
Hi.
Sanswinda,
Hello.
Guerendus,
Hello, everyone.
Galabathian,
Good evening, everyone.
and Arendus.
Hey, everybody.
Hello there. And let's get started because we have a quest pack review tonight, which means that we are going to be busy. So let's head straight into our game news. And we'll begin with an announcement that the free content has been extended until May 31st. That means, of course, then that all quests are going to be free. The content is going to be free from now until May 31st. So if you want to have an opportunity to play the content and you're not a VIP and you don't own all the content, this is the time to do it. Now, since all the content is free, I guess you're wondering, well, what about all these VIPs that actually pay for this content? They've therefore to give a little gift to the VIPs. There are actually two gifts in each of the two games. For the Lord of the Rings Online, the first one is the Greater Morale Potion. Now, this, I guess, is in a way symbolic in boosting morale, but the real reason for it is that for some reason, in order to give a strange the other gift, they had to tie it into something else that was already in the store. I don't know, some technical reason on there. Thus, they just chose the Greater Morale Potion as being the small item that was in there. And the larger item is a selection box of medium carry-alls in which you could choose one of the following: a crafting carry-all, task, essence, instrument, or housing decoration. Now, one little thing to note on this, assuming that you haven't already logged on to this. This will go to the first character that you log into. Of course, it is bound to your servers.
Do not log in a creep.
Yes.
If it's not too late, do not log in a monster player the next time you log in.
Right. So if you're a VIP and you log in, the next character you log into is going to be the one to receive it. And yes, that could be a warg if you happen to log into a warg next. And
which is really useless and frustrating, and I would guess that they have a lot of tickets open about that because I still haven't heard back on the one I submitted. But yeah, I had been out warging on the moors the night before, didn't even register that it was May 1st already or that the gift was dropping or anything that next morning. I just knew that there was a quest I should check on, and I logged in and my warg got the carry-all selection box, and I was very disappointed because I was looking forward to that. So my warg is still sitting with an unopened carry-all selection box in its inventory, hoping that it can be removed and given to one of my freeps. But if it's not too late for you, log in a free person that you want to have the selection box on first, because it will bind.
It'd be nice if the monster players were able to have at least save only abilities into the shared storage so that you could drop it in there and not have to worry about it.
I would love to be able to use shared storage as a creep, because you know what? Do you have any idea how much gold my creep has that I have zero use for in the moors?
All the municipal hides. All the municipal hides. That's what I want. But even if all you could put in it was something that was misdelivered to your creepside character that should have been a creepside reward, like this selection box of medium carry-alls, that would be okay with me right now. So As far as I know, it does not have any such functionality, but it would be nice.
It would be nice,
No,
yes.
there's no vaults for creeps. Are you kidding? We only just got mailboxes for creeps.
That's a new thing?
Yes, it's a new thing.
Oh, well, thank you for the mailboxes. Can I please mail my medium carry-all to my freep? I'll pay the shipping cost in all my gold that I have. I'll give you 100 gold to ship that carry-all to my freep.
You can only mail stuff among other creeps, but yes, that's a new thing.
Well, I would still pay all the gold that my warg has to be able to do that.
To send it to one of your freeps.
Yeah.
Yes. On the same server. Like, I'm not even going to be picky. Arkenstone would be a great server to have it.
I mean, let's face it. What really? Where are the pockets on a warg that they could carry gold?
Oh, they carry it in their mouth.
Let's not even get into all of the other stuff that we're carrying around in the inventory, because I gotta tell you, Terry Fluff's inventory is pretty full. It's kind of embarrassingly full. It's almost as full as some of my free players.
I mean, if we could get a better morale potion,
maybe free players.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta hang on to the hobbit legs and hobbit feet and elf ears and dwarf ears.
Well, yeah, because they're all turn-ins. I mean, if one of the medium carry-alls, was it will hold, all your turn-ins, that would be kind of cool, and my warg might keep it.
Oh, okay.
If it could hold a whole stack of elf ears, a whole stack of hobbit feet, a whole 5,000 or however many legs of men, that might be useful. But
yeah, so that you don't have 6 stacks of them in your inventory?
Right. Because they only stack to what, 100? They don't even stack very far. So
some of them only stack to 50.
True.
Yeah. So at least have something that's useful for the creeps in that selection one.
I mean, if it's going to bind to a creep, it should let me choose something that works for a creep. Or it shouldn't be allowed to bind to the creep. Or I should be able to transfer it to my freep.
Yeah.
Those are my proposed solutions to the problem that I found myself
The proposed solution is that they treat the turn-ins, like the elf ears, as if they were task items, and that they be sucked in by the task carry-all. Because if that's the case, then they don't even have to add a new item.
Right. I mean, they might have to recode the items.
Yeah, they'd have to recode the task carry-all, or all those turn-in things. That's another possibility, but it's a thought. The creep task board.
Anyway, that was the lesson I learned this week. Don't log in your creep first in May.
Oh, but the task boards wouldn't be any fun. They wouldn't threaten to send me to the sofa pits or ask me if I want to do a whole mega scroll.
Oh, you don't know who's guarding the task boards in the creep
I'll
side.
just see somebody standing there to tell you all those things while you turn in tasks. That'd be funny.
Yeah, of course.
Well, instead of a chest for the tasks, they could give us another NPC to turn it in.
Yeah. Because there are fake tasks.
Just going to the NPCs isn't a horrible thing. The NPCs are basically task boards. They just look like NPCs. So they could probably make it work with the task carry-all. I think it should work.
Yeah, well, they're already on Freep's side. They're already task boards that sent you to an NPC to turn them in.
Okay.
Yeah, because in Bree you go to Second Watch or Heathstraw.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant in the moors. I was like, really?
Well, yeah,
okay.
but this is to add. So yeah, you would love it if there was in the moors.
I haven't found them yet, but sure. Yeah, no, I know about task boards regularly on the landscape.
Yeah, but I was just saying there's a precedence for it, so they could.
There is a precedent for it.
Yes, a precedent for it.
Hey, maybe it could be a new way to earn infamy. I would be okay with this. In addition to what they already have, you could turn in tasks for however many hobbit feet. Or what are those, untreated leathers that you get and some of the other stuff? All that Whore Hollow ale? Somebody surely wants that somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
It could be a black market that we could be running. We steal the Whore Hollow ale and sell it on the black market to the hobbits so we can go steal it again.
Oh, that's evil.
I mean, that might be too much, but I could see somebody wanting us to deliver the Hoar Hollow Ale to them.
Mm-hmm. All right,
Just some ideas.
Yeah. Those are some of our ideas on how to handle this if you're not able to do something such as get Sans Windows task packet to a freep.
Yes. I mean, sending it to my freep would obviously be the easiest solution, but not necessarily the most fun, now that I'm thinking about solutions.
Anything else on this little gift there? Anybody? I guess everybody has been on and made a selection, assuming that he logged into a proper character.
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
And then let's then head into our release notes because we had a little update 26.0.1, which was released on Wednesday, April 20th. Yeah, they actually had a release on a Wednesday. Wow. Yes. And so there are, of course, updates. But now, one of the things that was probably in there was putting in the code for sending all those carry-alls that we were talking about earlier. So let's see what we have in here. First off, the item for items, the new anniversary events, cosmetics, gilded ceremonial pauldrons, and plated ceremonial greaves can now be dyed. And I remember that Sanswinda was looking at these things and seeing how they could dye each of those and notice those two items weren't being dyeable. And as she was saying that, I said, oh, by the way, the release notes say.
I know, I had just decided not to buy them because you couldn't dye them. And he's like, oh, the release notes say you can dye them. So I might have to go back and buy them. I don't know.
Then on quests and adventure areas, wood and ore nodes in the Mists of Wilderland are now properly trackable by the appropriate crafting tracking skills. I don't know what was happening up there. Ground fog density in the Mist Hollow has been reduced for game performance reasons. So in other words, it was turning into a lag fest with all the fog there. The swift travel to Thokvist and Hiltseld can now be used. Players may need to revisit the stable master's stabled horses to rediscover those destinations. So if you were one of the first people out there, you may have to rediscover the areas. Yes. And then a normal and swift travel to Skarhald from Hiltseld now behaves properly. Players who did not receive proper Virtue XP for completed deeds in the Mists of Wilderlands will receive the Virtue XP on the next character login. Certain battlefield wall assets have had their origin points corrected. I would presume someone's here has been in the moors to verify this?
Yeah, there's still like a wall at Tolaskarnan that's hanging out over the side of the hill, which is kind of funny. But they seem to be mostly fixed.
Okay, mostly fixed. The fishing hobby now correctly functions in the Wells of Langflood region. The Floodfell's Warg Riders are no longer using mounted combat speed and tactics, making them appropriate foes to face on foot. All right, that answers the question that we asked last week on how they were handling that particular situation. And Remerhant, the Net of Darkness, will be available at Tier 4 and Tier 5 difficulties beginning on April 30th after the standard 3 a.m. Eastern reset. Since that's already in the past, it means it's already happened. Unique titles await players who overcome the evils of Remerhant on Tier 4 and 5. And someone complained to Cordovan during his Court of the Ring stream that most of the kin still haven't gotten around to finishing up Tier 3 yet. So apparently Shelob is proving to be a little bit of a challenge.
Imagine that.
As she should be.
As she should be. Yes, you do have
She's
a
only
point.
literally the most evil thing in the world. I mean, now that Sauron's dead, Shelob is definitely the most evil thing in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true. Now, according to Sam, he says he has a couple of keys on his creeps that he was never, which I guess is as bad as.
I still have a steel key, a sturdy steel key.
Yeah.
But those boxes don't exist anywhere. Like, if I were a freep, I could buy them in Lollia's Market. If I could mail them to my creep, I could mail one to my creep. But no, he's got a sturdy steel key that opens nothing.
That opens nothing. Oh, they don't have any equivalent to Traveler's loot boxes?
They have...
They don't open with sturdy keys.
Boxes, but you have to get the black steel keys to open them. The sturdy steel keys don't work.
Oh, that's right. They're always treated as being level capped. So therefore they get the high ones instead of the low ones.
Yep. But it wouldn't open a low one either, because it's a sturdy steel key. You know, one with the yellow background and the silver key.
Yeah, the old keys, Pine Leaf.
Yeah.
They don't open the new loot boxes.
Like, an Honorian loot box I could open, but I don't get those anymore.
Okay.
Because they don't exist in game anymore, except for at Lollia's Market.
Yeah. I could just imagine what Lolly will do if she saw Warg walk into her store.
I'm only.
I don't know, considering how she is in the barrel.
She would cry. She wouldn't actually do anything. She would just cry.
Yeah.
She would cry, and I would get all the loot boxes and all the cosmetics. This would be great. Oh wait. My Warg walks out with a cape flowing behind it, wrapped around its neck. That would be funny.
Oh.
I could leave some gold behind. She probably wouldn't appreciate it, but...
And as for miscellaneous, the advanced graphics option Particles Static Environment Objects checkbox now enables or disables scene object particles that display. Some examples are ground fog, fireflies, and dust. Note, changing this option will not immediately update your display since this doesn't remove particle systems already being rendered. It only stops new particle entities from being loaded when traveling to a different area on the landscape. And runic stack refinement should now happen more quickly for legendary items. Good. Disenchanting stacks of items that reward multiple components will now produce the correct number of components. The collection's acquisition descriptions for the Mysterious Celebration Pig and the Anniversary Celebration Pig have been corrected. And additional work has been done to improve game performance.
But there's still way too much lag in Minas Morgul.
Yeah, Minas Morgul probably has things on top of whatever has been causing the general game performance issues. Because Minas Morgul, you step outside and usually I don't see any motion until I've killed whatever mob jumped me, because some mob jumps you just as soon as you get out there.
Usually I don't actually start moving until about 5 or 6 mobs later.
Things are even worse on your end. And known issues for the French and German clients, some references to the northern ghoul marks will be TBD until the next patch. And that's it for update 26.0.1. And we'll see how many updates we have before that settles down.
Sam in the chat mentions that the loot box drops for creeps are different, and you won't get anything for your creep. Won't be able to use.
It's true. You just still need a black steel key. You can't use the sturdy steel key that I have. So
Yeah. Now let's head into the Lotro Beacon. I will presume that this foggy area on the cover is somewhere in the Floodfells. I haven't had a chance to actually get into there yet. So I will have
I don't know. I'm with you, Pine. I haven't been there either.
Yeah.
Me either.
So we'll have to amend that sometime soon. Let's then head into the community spotlight. Gamer Reverie has created a Learning Lotro series of articles to help you improve your game. And you could click on the link to read about racial traits and more. Smeagol has put together a Spanish language guide to the side bosses of Rembrandt, and you can click on the link to read that. I'm surprised that they let him get away with that name. But all right. Shipwreck is creating a player run inn and tavern directory. And you click on that link to check that out. And Runatoire is hosting a new social event called the Hemlock Glade on May 4th on Laurelin. That's on a Monday.
May the 4th be with you.
Yes. You're cordially invited to a new annual event, the Hemlock Glade, celebrating both the tale of Beren and Luthien and also Tolkien's love for his wife Edith. We'll sit down by a warm fire, much like Aragorn and the hobbits on Weathertop, and recall the moment Beren saw Luthien for the first time. We'll talk about the real-life events that inspired that moment and where it happened. Then we'll have time just to relax in pleasant company, chat, and listen to some music. This is an RP light, so RP or not, choice is yours. All are welcome. Monday the 4th at 8 p.m. Universal Time or 3 p.m. server time. Location to be given closer to the time. And that will be on Laurelin. And now let's get back to our things. Right, that was there. And the May Wind Festival takes place on May 8th and 9th on Balaguer, and you click to learn more about this music and dance event. Let's then have a look at the Kin Hall. The Hand of Retribution is an Australia-based kinship that has been around on Arkenstone since 2007 that is now looking for new members. The kinship aims to create a relaxed, casual, and supportive environment. And now let's head to our weekly comment. What is the title of the biography of your favorite character?
Wait, favorite character that we play on the game, or favorite character from the actual books?
I thought it was favorite NPC.
You could interpret it the way that you want. I think that allows more scope for different types of answers.
I think so. Anyway, mine is I Got Away With It, the Lost Era of Umbar, the Jajak story. Alternate title, A Drinking Guide to Middle-earth.
Yeah, that sounds like Jajax. Anyone else?
Sans knows where she's going.
Poor Sans. Right, anyone else?
I think mine might have to either be "I'll stab you if I have to," "A Burglar's Tale" for kill, or "I wish I knew how to play this instrument" for Glompla.
Like, just because her bagpipe sounds really sad.
It sounds like a dying goose.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else have any ones to add?
Goodbye, My Master, the Samwise Gamgee story.
Sam Burke says, ruined Rohirrim romance.
Oh,
Is that Horn and Nona?
right in the feels.
Well, I guess that could be Horn and Nona. He doesn't give which NPCs he's speaking of, but Horn and Nona, I guess, would be some candidates for that.
Ian says mine is the long road to level cap. I feel that on a spiritual level.
Yes.
Same here. It's okay, I might steal that as mine.
Yes. I think you could guess mine.
Skirmish responsibly.
You got it! Needed only one guess. So, yes, all sorts of little things you could do with that one. Let's then head into the fan site news. On the Lotro stream is your first stop. To find Lotro on Twitch, you can check out our shows this week from French Girl Gaming, Wayward Plane, and Winnie. Also on Twitch, you can check out shows by Bloodborne, Thalaruth, and the Dwarva Scholar. And on YouTube, you could check out Carrick Avalorn, who runs Class Quest, and Dang finds hobbits and lemonade, and Benubis explores a hobbit hole. Now let's head into our screen shop of the week, where, well, it looks like a nasty thing. Mike had sends in this cool action shot on Serenon. Thank you for sending in. If you'd like to send your screenshots, you can send to the contact at standingstonegames.com. And where is this from?
I don't know, but that dragon or drake has nostrils big enough to sniff that dude's head into. It's like...
Yeah.
I think that's the dragon. Isn't that the dragon in Urgar?
Might be.
Well, it looks like something from somewhere nasty. Those wings don't look like they're in the best shape. Unless it's a very poor angle for it. Well, that's it for our Lotro Beacon this week. So let's head into our store sales. And Terry, what's on sale this week?
Well, we actually have two sets of sales. We have an anniversary sale through the 10th, which is 35% off Bomber's Bounty, 50% off account-wide seeds.
Yes.
Yay, more horses.
Mm-hmm.
75% off classes, races, and character slots. And then the regular sale is through the 7th, and it's 25% off vault storage and shared storage, inventory slots, and currency cap. And then the weekly coupon gets you a free 10% run speed boost times 5 with coupon code RUNITBACK now through May 7th. Calabathian should really get more inventory spots.
Yes.
They are very beneficial.
Yes.
Though I must say,
Also-
I splurged on character slots this time because I maxed out my inventory.
Yeah, mine's maxed out too.
Yeah, also, looking at the coupon code RUNITBACK, I swear it said RUNTBACK, and I was like, Runt? What? Okay. But no, inventory slots, yes. And the 50% off account-wide steeds as well. Yes, there's stuff to buy, and I need to buy it.
Let's then head into our site news, and we'll begin with where in Middle-earth is Emeraldina number 50, and it looks like there's a number 50 special here. Last week was at Rivendell, so the official answer is a little bit more specific than what I was thinking of, because I knew I had to be in Lothlorien somewhere, but I think I had an approximate location. Can't remember if the place I was thinking of was at Rivendell or very, very close to Rivendell, so I was in the general vicinity at least. And this week, though, I would say that this one is not the most difficult issue of where Middle-earth is Emeraldina. It looks like she's taking it easy on us this week to celebrate number 50.
And possibly a birthday.
And possibly a birthday. There you go. So all those scrolls say happy birthday on them?
I'm told they should.
All right.
You have to read them to find out for yourself.
Yeah, I guess.
I know. She's under the cake hat.
She might be.
Can't really see her.
I can see hot pink pants sticking out from the bottom of the box.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's the thing that would make it tough, is finding out where is she in this picture exactly.
She's under the cake hat.
Yeah. Under the cake hat.
Inside the present box.
Yes.
Because she's such a gift.
Let's then head into our next little item, where Squirrel has a new installment of Critter's Journey. Thank you very much. And of course, as usual, it's Critter, so have a chance to read it.
Yeah.
And that is it for there. So it is time for us to head into our main feature for today's show, which is the Quest Pack update for update 25, which is our little trip into Minas Morgul. And we will, of course, begin, as is tradition, by going through the Black Book of Mordor.
Should we, issue a major spoiler alert?
Yeah, major
That was
spoiler
the next
warning.
thing, yes.
Really, really major spoiler warning.
Yes, this will include, of course, spoilers, not only for this section of the Black Book of Mordor, but for the Black Book of Mordor, of course, as a whole. So if you do not wish to be spoiled on anything relating to the Black Book of Mordor, it is probably, well, at least all the most important stuff has already been said. But if you want to listen to our week in Lotro, then come back in about 15 minutes
to half an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a lot to say.
You have a lot to say. That's true. Let's then head into the Black Book of Mordor, where we start out by remembering that we had this little interlude. I don't know if we discussed the interlude during the last quest pack thing, where we finished off where after the last quest pack area, we had this little interlude where we found Isildur. So we're picking up after that little thing. So we're talking to Isildur, and Isildur wants to have something to remind him what happened there, because that his memories are vague about what happened in the past, and what he wants to do is find out who betrayed him, why they betrayed him, and what it is that he needs to do in order to rest. So he's trying to learn all of this stuff. And he sent you in order to get some items that they would hope will be able to unlock this information for him. This window of the past that he's looking for. So we go into various places down in the Gladden fields, get the items, bring them back, and then he says, "Oh yes, I remember this equipment, and it happened to be owned by a person who was the exact class and race as you were." Hence, chapter 2 is called The Same as You. Or The Same as You. In other words, this is the person, same class, same race as you are. Thus, I wound up. Thus, yes, even if you're a hobbit, there'll be another hobbit. It'd be interesting that if you're playing, I mean, if you're a high elf, you could role play it as being yourself, I guess, because, well, actually, it'd be hard to because you were unconscious during most of it.
Yeah.
Unless you want to say, well, I woke up after that unconsciousness one, and I was knocked out unconscious right after that, and that's when I wound up sleeping for 3,000 years. So you might be able to do. Now, if you're a regular elf, though, you could justify being the same elf without any trouble whatsoever, because I'm sure there are some non-high elves that were also involved during the last alliance. So we have that. So you have this who's the same race as you, and the idea here is that now we're going to have this time travel thing, and instead of making a session play or anything like this, they have this new zone where you're earning experience and doing all this stuff, and ostensibly what you're doing is you're listening to the story being told by Isildur, and as Isildur...
Cool.
Right, and as he's telling you this story, you're being able to quest as normal, earn XP as normal, and do all that stuff in there. Yes, so that's a real nice thing, and you get to participate in the last alliance. Despite the fact that unless you're playing an elf, obviously your character wasn't literally there. But you must have gained a lot of experience for the way Isildur really tells that story.
It's a pretty epic tale.
Yeah, it's a pretty epic tale, yes. And it starts out with a day in Deangarth where you're just a soldier there being ordered about, yes, even hobbits are there. And I forgot what they do with the Bjornings, but they made sure that, yes, there are skin changers there also so that the Bjornings can participate. And as for the stout axes, not sure what they do with them, but I guess that there would have been people from that type of dwarf already in existence at the time. Because this is just before they were grabbed and thrown into Mordor at all. So we have this, and you're just having a regular day in Deangarth where you're being ordered about doing your stuff, and essentially all these tasks are being done because this person is trying to impress Isildur, who's about to come there, and he says, I want to really impress them, so I want you to do all this work for me so that I could impress them. And Isildur is so impressed with them that he decides the inspection will be handled by his sons instead. Because they think that this person's a pompous idiot, and he...
Because he is.
Well, yes, of course he is. And just about every other NPC you meet that's a quest giver thinks he's a pompous idiot. So, and I think most players have formed that conclusion by that time also. But now you meet the sons of Isildur, and you learn about them. And you both learn of his natural sons and also of his adopted son. And where they all came from on there. And once you have that discussion for that, wondering what's coming up there, you then begin to hear rumors of a storm coming in from the east. Now, this storm is that there are rumors that there is this great horde of Easterlings in there. But there's nothing to worry about because their greatest army, well, I guess because they have an army that they sent out in order to intercept this was the Golden. Actually, no, the Golden Horde. That was the Mongols. Let's see what I forgot what this horde is called. But this horde is then out there, and they're going to be coming out after you, and we're trying to forestall that. Actually, we're not doing that. We're hearing the stories of this coming along because, of course, we're in Mordor, so we're trying to hear that, and we're learning this from Magaldir, and Magaldir is important. And in fact, Magaldir is very important in this entire thing because Magaldir is, of course, this elf that we heard referenced in the Black Book of Mordor. So now we are starting to do quests for Magaldir, and he becomes a person that we quest with all through this area in here, and gives us various quests in here, and of course brings us to where we get to, of course, meet Glorfindel. But Glorfindel we've met before all the way, and head into the various items in here. So that's what we have. The Bright Company is what they're part of, all those elves. So we meet the Bright Company, we hear about the storm from the east, we meet the Bright Company, and we're trying to figure out what's going on in here. And of course, we bring in scouting reports for them because, you know how scouting reports always are, where they're trying to figure out what's going on. So as we're going on this, let's see, where is... what happened here? All right, that wasn't good. All right, there we go. All right, back to where I was. Now, where were we? Yes, okay, I lost track there for a moment. Now, let's get back on track. Now, after hearing about the meeting of the Bright Company and all that stuff, we then meet Tuka. And Tuka is the hobbit I refer to as the... I don't know if this was intentional or not, but with a name like Tuka, I'm almost thinking that she's the matriarch of the Tooks. And that that's where they got the name from. So I sometimes refer to as the mother of the Tooks. And of course, Tuka is being very, very sneaky and all that stuff. That's her shtick, of course, because she's telling her what she's done because she heard something that happened, and that in one of these very nasty strongholds, people they thought were deserters were apparently being lured out by... Well, I don't know if it's by Uridani Stone Maiden or I guess people working for Uridani Stone Maiden. And they bring them out and it eventually bring them to an air... Is that to... Rumradus, I guess it is? Or is that... these names always confuse me in there. But you go into the fortress in there. And in there, you eventually run into Uridani Stone Maiden. And you actually get to fight Uridani Stone... Now, of course, she doesn't look like fire at this point, because this is before she becomes fire and all that stuff. So we meet there, and we help to free things in there for a little while. But, of course, this is just a small victory on there. And I think we pretty much insult Uridani Stone Maiden. or at least our friend does, Magladir does. And after that, and all seemingly quiet there, we then hear that the storm is approaching. You know that little storm to the east I talked about earlier? Well, it's apparently what we thought was going to be a great victory and that we were going to scatter these Easterlings away. There'll be absolutely no problem whatsoever. Well, King Durin and, yeah, I know, another Durin, and Hunric Hundredslayer were sent out there to have a great victory, and it was a fiasco. They came running. The survivors that came back reported a horrible defeat, and that the Great Horde is approaching. The storm that's approaching in there is going to come, and there is absolutely no way that this, let's see, Khazar Boron, which is what they call it, this storm, that they're going to be able to survive it if they arrived. So now they have to come up with, how are we going to survive this onslaught? And they hold a council. Now there's one little problem, of course, is that we're not invited to the council, and neither is one of the sons of Isildur. I think it's nor is the adopted son there. So he says, hey, how about you go out and help me by finding some badges in there, and that could impress them enough so that they will let us in. Now, it impresses the guards enough that they let us into the council, but at first, the elves are wondering, hey, aren't there a few too many people here? But before they kick us out, they wind up, someone decides to speak for us, saying there's the possibility that this person could be useful. And one of the counselors in there is, oh yes, we do meet an advisor to Gilgalad in there, who's helping try. Let's see, you remember what that advisor's name is? Is that, Lindolin. Lindolin, yes, Lindolin. Then I think he's the one who speaks up for us and says, let them stay. They might be able to provide something that no one else can provide. So we are allowed to stay and listen to this council. And we're hearing the bad thing with that this storm is approaching and that we can't find any way around or anything like this. And at this point, they're trying to come up with, how are we going to be able to do something? The idea here then is, what if we break into Barad-dûr and destroy the Oathstone? Now, I haven't mentioned the Oathstones yet, and that was actually mentioned earlier. And that if you understand the poem, the seven ships, was it 7 stars? On Sailing 7 stars and 7 stones and 1 white tree, from when the Númenórean survivors came across. Now, of course, Gandalf had always thought that the 7 stones were the Palantiri. But apparently the 7 stars were the Palantiri, at least in this version of the story, and that the 7 stones are Oathstones, so that there are these 7 Oathstones. One of them was destroyed by Lindolin, and another one is the Stone of Erech, which is the only one that we've seen in game prior to this expansion in there, the Stone of Erech. So you can see that there's these pretty big stones here. So there's another one that was taken by the enemy and taken to Barad-dûr, and this is what's believed to have been used in order to create this great horde of Easterlings, because the Easterlings, of course, are very rarely create huge hordes like this, and they figure they'll most likely just go back to their usual infighting and dissipate the horde if they are able to destroy that stone. All right, I know. So Lindolin thinks that if he's destroyed one before, we can do it again. I know. All we have to do is to break into Barad-dûr. Now we just have to figure out, how can we get into Barad-dûr and sneak into there? And at this point, we learned that there was one other uninvited guest at this council. And that was Tuka, who was standing in the back. And apparently nobody else noticed that.
Well, because Hobbit.
Yeah, I know, Hobbit, yes. So she comes up to the front and announces herself and gives a suggestion that she knows of a cave that she believes leads towards Barad-dûr. All right, that sounds good. And now all we have to do is to take that way in order to get there. And they decide that the ones who should go there are, of course, your character, Lindolin, of course. Let's see, Glorfindel, I believe. Is that it, or is there anyone? I think a couple of random elves. So a number of people that are going to go into there, but not the Sons of Isildur, because obviously we're doing this while the Sons of Isildur are distracting them so that we could go and do our own thing. So that's what we're going to be doing then, is sneaking into Barad-dûr by going through this cave, going underground, fighting various things in there. And we get,
As you do.
Yeah, as you do. And eventually break into there, where we get to finally meet Sauron. Right? What was the laugh for?
I don't actually remember if we met Sauron.
Oh yeah, we met Sauron all right.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, in the last...
He wasn't very happy with us.
He was... Yeah, because he's guarding the Oathstone. So right...
Oh, that's right. We got in there and he was very not happy to see us.
Yes. So you've got Glorfindel distracting Sauron.
Didn't exactly go according to plan.
Yes, and then... Yes, that didn't go exactly. And then Lindolin is, of course, working to break the stone. And Lindolin finally succeeds in breaking the stone. And Sauron... And when he does this, that's when Glorfindel, of course, breaks off the fight with Sauron and all this stuff. And it's time to retreat. So we retreat hastily as we could. We run out. And when we run out... It's only when we've gone out quite a far that we find out that Lindolin did not come with us. Lindolin is still back there. So Lindolin was thus captured by Sauron during this operation. And that then sort of brings the tale to the end, sort of, because that's when Isildur's story comes to an end. Then, of course, they tell that after this, what happened after that. And then we learn that Lindolin, who had been captured by Sauron, was tormented by the Dark Lord, of course. But before he died, he managed to plant a seed of doubt from him that he an idea that he received a message from Galadriel. You guys, Galadriel was able to send him a message with a plan, and the seed is saying that what Glorfindel, or actually Gil-galad, I think it was Gil-galad, one of the high elves, probably Gil-galad, was going to take all 3 elven rings, simultaneously wield them, and use that to bring down Barad-dûr. Now, the reason why they thought this was possible is because if you listen to the Lost Lore, according to the Lost Lore books that they had in there, they used 2 of the elven rings together in order to bring down the Black Gates. They figured, well, if 2 could bring down the Black Gates, 3 could bring down Barad-dûr. Now, this was not something that they seriously wanted to do, because they figured if they put on those 3 rings, Sauron will just use his 1 ring to take over them or anything like this. So they had absolutely no intention of actually doing this. But they made Sauron think that that's what they were planning to do. And when Sauron got this, that's what drew Sauron out to break the siege. And he came out, and then that's when you had that famous scene where Sauron comes out and the fight where Sauron gets the ring cut off, and all that history in there.
Yeah.
So that, of course, is all already pretty much well done. Now, what happens to Lindolin, though, is his spirit is that Sauron noticed that when we were in there with Sauron, Sauron noticed that Lindolin was not really an elf, even though he looked like an elf. He was actually a Maya. And that when he was killed there, he came back as a Maya back to Valinor, of course, where he rested for a while. And then after a rest, Glorfindel then reveals that Lindolin then was sent back in a new form later on and came back to Middle-earth. And
dun dun dun.
And the new form is Gandalf, Mithrandir. So yes, that is the whole strange thing, because of all that, and that a gift that they were given was that all memory of the torments and what happened there was taken away from Lindolin, so he doesn't remember the torments in there, so that Gandalf could do his job here. And this also explains why Gandalf tended to be more on the subtle side on how he did things. In other words, inspiring other people to do the work rather than doing stuff himself. And it was because last time he took direct control of stuff, that's what happened to him. Now, we don't know if that was a different tax since decided by the Valar, or if the suppressed memory of that caused that to happen to Gandalf on there. But that's what Ready Player One says, as Drac would say, what? Yeah. So, yes, that's what happened on that matter. But that brought that tale to the end.
Yeah, that was actually quite the experience to go through that. And because leading up to that, I really thought that we were going to find out that Lindolin was somebody else, and then it turned out to be another, like a previous incarnation of Gandalf, and I was like, wait a minute! But it was really cool.
Yes, you just wish that his current incarnation was as cool as his previous one was.
Yeah, because I actually really liked Lindolin. He was way more useful than Gandalf is.
Yeah.
I'm still have issues with that wizard.
Well, yes.
Gandalf does have the swiftest travel to Rivendell, though. I mean,
This is true.
he arranged and provided the swiftest travel to Rivendell regularly for me.
You have a point there. However, considering he made us go back to Rivendell,
I mean, he wasn't the only one who made us keep going back.
no, but he made us go back to Rivendell after this story.
Right.
True.
And it was
And
really
the travel
annoying.
method he provided was not nearly as good as the one he provides from his room in Bree.
No.
After that, we then have Isildur continuing the tale and saying that now that he understands what happened back then with Lindolin and that we filled in some of the blanks about what happened to some blanks concerning the Black Book of Mordor or on who this elf was, and we still have more questions on exactly what happened to him. We then have the central questions now being asked. Who betrayed Isildur? Because Isildur is now convinced that somebody betrayed him, and we need to find out. And in order to find
that was the whole point of going back to Second Age Mordor, was to find the answers to that question.
And unfortunately, it didn't.
Maybe more about Karazgar, but that was hopeful.
Right. So what we wound up doing instead then is being sent over to find then, in hopes of being able to resolve this, to look for Isildur's bones. And we were then able to learn that Isildur's bones seem to be kept in a room, based on a memory of some sort, in a room with a beacon of it of some sort. And the guess that conclusion that we came to then was that we are going to now head out and find the bones there on top of the main tower in Minas Morgul. Whoop-de-doo. So guess where we go next? The Morgul Vale.
Yep.
Yeah, so we head on to the Moonlands. And we then head out and head out into the Watch on the Dead City, because we're trying to find out. We do various quests for people all the way through the various areas of the Minas Morgul, find what's the best way to get into the Dead City, and we eventually get into there. And while we're there, we then start to learn some of the background of various people. Let's see. Oh, that's right, because Mithrandir keeps on unlocking various aspects of the Black Book of Mordor. And he eventually now was able to unlock a section where we have talking about, of course, the King Aranera. Or actually, I guess he's a prince at this time. And he's decided that he is going to go in and have revenge against the ones who took that fortress in Mordor. The one that some group of people with descendants have been trying to desperately avenge in all this time in here. The survivor, to revenge the survivor in there. So Arnor wants to go into there, and they head into that area. And they head into into that fortress. And while they were there, at first they seem, all right, we're having no trouble whatsoever at first. And Erner's sword breaks. And he winds up with the sword of... Yes, he winds up with the sword of our friend, the... Oh, why can't I ever remember? Moguldir's sword. So Moguldir gives Erner his sword because he says Erner cannot be going, this prince cannot be using an orcish sword in order to continue on like this. So he has Erner's sword. Now, what happens is that before they could do anything else or retreat, eventually they run into Eridani Stone Maiden. Now, this is after Eridani Stone Maiden has become fire. And Moguldir goes to Eridani Stone Maiden and says, oh yeah, you're, oh, how are you so changed? How can this be? Now, of course, the last thing you want to do against Eridani Stone Maiden is insult her to her face when she's pretty powerful now. So you can pretty guess what soon happens after that. She pretty much kills Moguldir.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So Moguldir is left behind, and Erner and his knights all leave. So they leave. Now, the knights that Moguldir is with are the ones that are mentioned by Gandalf when you investigated long time ago in Minas Morgul looking for the new plague and all that fun stuff. So with that done, we then have the trouble that after that, we of course go back to our next step because we sort of have this going back and forth, learning more stuff, going back there, going back in there. So now, after listening to all these troubles and Dearth thing and all that fun stuff, that's right, that was what it was called. We're done with Dearth thing. And now we have to figure out how we are going to get into the tower. Because the tower is guarded by these guardian stones, and these guardian stones are ordered not to let anyone through except for the Gurzel.
Oh yeah, this was great.
Oh yeah. So we need to find a Gurzel. Well, of course, we don't have a Gurzel that's friendly with us. You know, all the Gurzel are... Well, when the Gurzel aren't trying to kill each other, they're trying to kill us. So,
right.
A little bit of a problem there. But it so happened that during the earlier parts of the Black Book of Mordor, a certain Gurzel dropped his mask, shall we say? So that's what we do. We actually managed to... We decided, maybe if we took the mask, we will be able to use that and convince someone to use it. Now, who would be crazy enough to maybe use this mask, or might get away with it? Because obviously, if you gave it to a hobbit, for example, no one's going to...
That disguise is not going to fly.
Yeah, no one's going to believe that a hobbit is Karazgar. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a disguise good enough to actually make the hobbits look like Karazgar.
Thus,
Sorry, Emerlina.
Yeah. Thus, they decide to nominate Eorzin.
I would have been a better choice still, even as a hobbit.
No, come on, it's awesome. Because I didn't like this guy to begin with, and I was pretty sure that this plan was going to end up getting him killed. Like I was so for this plan because I was 99% sure that Karazgar or Eorzund was going to wind up getting killed.
Yeah. So Eorzund, of course, accepts it under a couple of terms, but all right. But you figure, well, if Eorzund's half likely to get killed, then who cares what his terms are?
Right?
Now, it so happens that when we are when we're there with Eorzund convincing him all this stuff, there turns out to be somebody else who had snuck into that particular inn, into the Eagle and Star, and that was Aragorn. I know, he's the king and all, but apparently he decided to dress as Strider again and to sneak into... Apparently he occasionally dresses up like Strider and goes into one of the local taverns. As he says, old habits do not always vanish easily. So he gave us some information about the last days of Eärnur that he heard. So he gave us the information about Eärnur that he knew. Apparently their Eärnur was, of course, where we get to see him being goaded into taking he and his knights going to Minas Morgul. So we see how he managed to goad him into doing that. Then after that, we then go and try our little gambit in there, trying to get up through there. We get inside, and when things get rough, when things look like they're about to get nasty, Karazgar / Eorzund says, well, you don't need me anymore. Goodbye. Boom. He was off like a flash.
Yep.
Oh, boy, did he run. And we don't know where he stopped. That's the last we've heard of... Well, that's the last we've heard of him so far. I have a feeling that some of us believe that it's not the last we've heard of him.
No, I'm pretty sure we'll see him again.
I'm sure we are going to see him again in the future. But now...
still pretending to be Karazgar.
Right.
Probably Karazgar again, too. Possibly wanting his mask back.
Yes. Yes, there is that. Karazgar wanting a mask, and Eorzund, whatever Eorzund is going to be up to in his little thing. Whether he's going to be wearing the mask or whether he's going to be as himself or what, we don't know yet. But that's something for the future. After this, we have our little bit of fun where we face Gothmog, finally. And there's just so much that happens in that boss fight. First of all, that's the dancing routine.
Yes.
And then after that, we wind up having to be sent in there. Then we have, after he goes down there, then we have the arrival of another Gurzel. So we, of course, have the Captain of the Pit, in this corner, the Captain of the Pit, this version, Gothmog, whom we've already weakened.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see how that one went up in the end. And in the end, we wind up with both Gothmog and the Captain of the Pit dead. Good riddance.
Right?
Now, in all this...
At least they had better be dead.
Yeah.
I worked
gonna
hard
miss
on that.
either of those guys.
Yeah. And we were then taken up. Now, we did have to at least one point head upstairs. And when we headed upstairs, we wound up eventually finding a box of dust. And this box of dust is, at least Isildur is pretty sure, are the remains of his bones. Well, several thousand years to decay, so they're just dust now. So he got the box of dust, and we can get out of there, but just before he dies, finally, Gothmog gives us a key, and Gothmog was told by one of his servants that this key led to a powerful weapon. So now we finish off then the last chapter of this with this wondering what this weapon is. We have no idea or anything like that, but don't worry, there's an epilogue!
Yeah.
And in this epilogue, we eventually have to find out what this key is. And we eventually...
This was AKA How to Drive Terry Completely Bonkers.
Yes! Yes, because eventually we have to take this key to Kiel, not one of Terry Adwin's favorite people. I think that's not an exaggeration in any slight sense.
No, that wasn't the worst of it.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Okay, we have this. So we take this key, and we have this key reforged. Oh, that's right, because we found I forgot how we had a blank in order to make, but anyway, we're able to make a key that's able to open up a box, and this box has in it a shard. And it's believed to be a shard then of the thing up in Minas Morgul, and Gandalf decides that moon letters, and that with the help of this glass, we are able then to read these moon letters, and that gives us a deeper part of the story. So now we learn Voin's tale, where we actually learn some things about Voin that we did not before. How Voin followed Eärnur later on into Minas Morgul, got himself made into became a servant of the people in the tower, and he became then was able to access Eärnur because Eärnur wasn't quite yet turned yet at this point. He was still trying to hold out in this, and he's trying to find a way to help Eärnur. And all this time, Voin is holding various offices in Minas Morgul, in the tower in there, so that he would have access to them in and out in there. And of course, he's not able to figure out a way to do this. And in the end, of course, Eärnur falls victim to whatever went on, and he fell victim to this, and of course he becomes Mordred at this point. Whew. After that point, Voin has to finally leave Minas Morgul and return home. Now we're done with
Still not the worst part.
What?
Still not. No, that's not. We're not done.
I know we're not done yet. I just let me have my false endings. Now we're done with the Black Book of Mordor. Oh, but now we have to go and help get back to Isildur. So we get to Isildur's last journey, and we then find, as we're going through the Gladden Fields, we run into another shade, the Wanderer, and the Wanderer. And in fact, looking for the Wanderer is what allowed us to find Isildur in the first place. And when we're looking through the Wanderer, we then listen to the Wanderer's story. And the Wanderer turns out to be the spirit of Isildur's adopted son, who turns out to be the person who betrayed Isildur, because it happens that Isildur's adopted son was married to one of the hill people that was cursed by Isildur. And he was trying to get Isildur to lift the curse, but Isildur refused. And now his wife and his young son are cursed, and he has no way to get around that. And eventually he decides he'll help the Nazgul so that he will be able to bring death to and rest for his son and wife. So he betrays Isildur for that. And now we learn who betrayed Isildur and why. Then we...
As well as the identity of the other shade that has been stalking around.
Yes, we also learned the identity of the other shade. So we learned quite a number of things in there. So as a result of this, the Wanderer, the adopted son, then becomes his father's son. His father's son in the way that his natural father's son, because his natural father's son was an evil priest, one of the evil priests over that worshipped Sauron.
Back in Numenor.
Yeah, over in Numenor. And now we finally get to Rivendell, and Isildur is finally free. Whee!
Did I lose you, Pine Leaf?
What? What? Did you say you don't hear me?
Heard you.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought somebody said that they
I
lost.
thought Sam said she lost you, though.
Oh. Well, it's possible maybe something happened to Sandston?
That is possible.
That is possible. So we had then after that, we make another trip to the Bjorninghus, where we learn that Gandalf missed something. Figure that. It turns out that the artwork that was in the Black Book of Mordor were actually a special type of runes, and that this final little chapter that was in there was written by the wife of Voin. And that she tells her story of what happened and some final things that were not told before. And let's see, so that sort of was the final little bit that you learned in there, that after finding this last little bit where they say farewell, you're now told that you have a choice of delivering the Black Book of Mordor to one of three people. The three choices that you are given are to kill Tailspinner, since it's a family heirloom. You could take it to Karazgar, because there was one point where he requested that you give it to him. And then finally, you could take it to Covadil in the Houses of Lore. Now, I think I took it to different people and different characters. I know that I took it to Keel on one character and Covadil on another one.
I took it to Covadil.
Yeah.
I think you took it to Keel, and Sans took it to Karazgar.
I think we all took it to somebody different when we did it together, and that when I did my recording of it, I took it to Covadil. Sans? Is that how you recall it?
She may not be back yet.
I know when the three of us did it, Terry took it to Covadil, and I took it to, to what's his face?
Yeah, Karazgar. Okay.
You took it to Karazgar, so
What's his mask?
Pineleaf took it to Keel.
Right. And that finally brought the Black Book of Mordor to a close. So was that the worst part of it, or was there something else that you were thinking of?
No, the worst part was that we had to go back to Rivendell again for Isildur, and then we had to go to the stupid Bjorninghuis because Gandalf.
Yeah. Oh well. So that was quite.
So when I say that this book was the book that drove Terry nuts, that's what I'm referring to, because I did not want to go to Rivendell, and I definitely did not want to go back to the Bjorninghuis. Stupid bears.
Yeah.
And no, they were not happy to see us.
When is he ever happy to see you? And that finishes the Black Book of Mordor. So let's see. Let's actually get to other parts of this update. Landscape. What do you think about the landscape of Minas Morgul? Other than creepy.
And laggy.
And like, oh yeah, the city is laggy as anything. Yes. Laggy Morgul. Now, how many people here have actually made it to the Morgul Vale? I know, of course, Terry and Sans have. What about Guarindus, Calabathian, or Arendis?
I have not yet.
Okay.
I've made it to either side of Cirith Ungol and the Morgul Vale, but I have not actually quested in that area yet. I'm not to that.
All right, not quite there. And Arendis, I think, is still trying to get to Mirkwood or something like that.
Yeah, I'm about, 40 levels away.
40 levels away. Yes, that is a bit of a problem. So yes, it's very creepy. It is
I actually
Mordor.
didn't find it all that creepy. It was quite pretty.
Yeah. Well, there's some parts that were. Yeah, some parts is you take something pretty and then corrupt it. So at least,
Although after a while it was a bit headache-inducing because of the glow.
Well, yes. I was thinking not only of the Minas Morgul itself, but also the Morgul Vale in general.
I still didn't really find it all that creepy. I wasn't even really intimidated by stuff, but I'm a champion in Middle Earth, so your mileage may vary.
Your mileage may vary in there. You're still in there, but anyway, usually it I believe gave us very much the feel of Minas Morgul to me in there. Now the Lag Fest, I think we could have done without. Hopefully they could have some way of taking care of that, because whenever you enter into combat, whenever you exit one of the doors, because we have these 4 towers that you have between the levels. You could go up ramps also if you want to bypass this problem, but all the quest givers are inside the towers, so you have to go into there. And whenever you leave one of these towers, you're likely to have lag for a while, and it's not unusual for a mob to be camping right at the exit. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of annoying.
Especially when you lag coming through the door, and when you finally get in, you're at half health. Yeah, or worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is that. Then we have, all right, let's say about questing in there. We already covered the Black Book, of course, but what about the actual regular quests?
There were some interesting stories.
Yeah, there was some interesting. The main storyline with which involves trying to trace Faramir and all that stuff. I'll call it the Faramir line just to avoid spoilers.
No, this is a spoilery update. We're allowed to do spoilers.
Well,
we already
okay,
gave a
okay.
spoiler warning.
You got a point there. All right.
Spoiler warning is still in effect.
Okay. Yes. So we have the. Well, yes, we don't want to give. Well, I would hope that we don't want to have. There are a couple of things, so that Guarendis, Calabathian, and Arendis might not want to know. I know we just told them the entire Black Book of Mordor.
Well, I've been watching in-game play on Twitch and hanging out with people in chat there, so it's not like I'm spoiled that much, but I don't know about.
Yeah, true.
I'll forget by the time I get there. Don't worry about me.
Okay.
I mean, and some of it isn't really that much of a spoiler because as soon as you open a window to talk with Dolenthal, you know something's up.
Yeah. Oh, true. Yes. Dolenthal is definitely not your typical ranger. So, yes, the quest line with Dolenthal.
And it's definitely not who everybody else seems to think that they are.
Yes. Yeah, the rangers aren't exactly the most perceptive lot. So yes, that quest line I think is very, very nice. And you also have each of the instances are led in by a quest line. The 3-player instances all each have their own little quest line. You have the Filthwell line, which
deserved its name.
Deserved its name is probably the best thing you could say about that.
I'm glad I wore my boots.
Oh yes, especially when you did the instance afterwards and went into there. So yes, where you have to do all this thing, trying to cleanse the river and all that stuff, and eventually you get sent into the filth well. And yes,
the anglerfish from.
Oh yes, the
angler. Bad.
Yeah, I know. The first time I saw that, it's like, what is an anglerfish doing in here?
Befouling everything, obviously.
Yes.
Couldn't you tell by the way it was eating the whole room?
Yeah, I could just imagine that whoever was developing that instance saw a picture of an anglerfish and says, "This is going to be the boss. I've got to use."
Anglerfish are freaky looking to begin with.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you wanted a unique looking, freaky looking boss, you nailed it.
You nailed it. Yes, you nailed it.
Because that thing is just wrong.
Yeah, that is.
And that was quite a lure too. Like a whole river maiden. Like that was impressive.
That was impressive.
I was not expecting an anglerfish though.
I was not expecting an anglerfish, but I totally called it that something was wrong.
Well, yeah, that certainly wasn't, I think, impossible to guess, shall we say. Then we had the one to the barrow, the deep barrow, where we had to have all that nasty stuff leading in there, where you're fighting undead all over the place. I know, big shock.
That made power an issue.
Oh, that is power. We need better scaling for those diseases.
Like instantly no power. Like 0 power. Not even enough power to get rid of the disease.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. I used some power pots. But I would have preferred to use them and not have them be just enough to get the disease off. You know.
Yeah, that was. I'm sorry. Power drainage in that instance is horrendous. That's all I gotta say. Now,
that is true, Sandberg. A Bjorning would be the perfect class to take through that instance.
Down with bears.
Yes, a Bjorning would be perfect for that instance. Now, actually, there is something that is even nastier, and that is that power drain is not unique to that instance, unfortunately. That is the way diseases are scaling at level 130, period. Because I've been in a skirmish and boom! Something slapped on a minor disease on me and instantly I lost all my power.
Yeah, it's like all your power immediately.
Yes. So I will say that, in fact, that the problem with the power in this one is when I grade this thing is I think that's the biggest contributor, I think, for it losing an entire grade point on this. So yes.
I mean, my scholars were kind of proud to have made useful power pots for once. But...
Well, that is the worst reason to make way in which to make power pots useful.
I would have rather like a continual slow power drain that you would occasionally need to use power pots for, but not be like completely out of power and have a chance to like get out of it.
Yeah. And then, oh right. So I guess that power drain sort of fits with the mobs, with the undead mobs, and because the undead.
You know, though.
What?
That power drain would be an awesome ability to give to creeps. Monster players need it. Yeah.
Monster players don't have power drainage diseases?
No, not like that.
Not that can instantly remove all the power from the free person, no. That's limited to in-game monsters, as far as I know.
Oh.
NPCs.
So OP.
Face it, guys. Most of the freeps in the moors are pretty much OP anyway.
I mean, it only takes one to, like, wipe 7 of us, so, you know.
Alright. Well, alright, so we've talked a little bit about those undead. What about other mobs? Okay, we have those shades, those miserable shades on the 4th tier of Minas Morgul.
And you can't go like 3 steps without aggroing everything.
Yeah.
Unless I'm thinking of the wrong tier.
No, you're thinking the right tier.
But there's, like, if you try to go one direction, you aggro like 4 roots and 3 shades. If you go the other direction, it's like 3 roots and 4 shades, and so there's no good path through there. And if you're single target, it's kind of bad. Totally killed me at least twice. And I was with people.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a little bit high on the mob concentration up on that 4th tier. I think that's why they call it a tier, I guess. Then we have trying to think of some of the other mobs. We have the strange family, of course.
Yeah.
And we have and of course, the usual insects and spiders. And we can't forget about the mistress of spiders herself, Shelob.
We can forget about her.
Hey! Didn't she have you for dinner once?
Yes. She deserves to be wiped off the face of the earth and forgotten. Deleted from all the game files and everybody's memories. Oh, wait. I suppose that would be kind of mean to other people. But, yeah.
Alright, yes, of course, we do meet Shelob in there, and we do have a little bit of quest line, of course, leading up to that, where you are led through the spiders and all of that, trying to find the Ungolidain, getting up through into up through Cirith Ungol, and heading up into Shelob's lair, which is a real fun. Okay, not a fun place, actually. I guess is probably the best way in there. So that's a nice little area in there, and that place, of course, is definitely a nasty place to go to, and it looks like a nasty place. It makes you feel like you're in a nasty place, especially when you do that instance where if you're not fast enough, you could turn into Shelob Chow.
I mean, it's not just about speed. You have to actually know how to get out of the web.
Well, yes, that little thing too.
That was not very intuitive, and trying to click on the name webs was a real pain.
Yeah. So that takes care. So those are sort of the types of mobs you have all over the place. Essentially, lots of undead, lots of insects, lots of spiders, demon goats.
I need to make more light oil, but it's a good thing to keep with you if you are a hunter or somebody who uses it.
Yeah. Yes, demon goats. And what else other than demon goats that you ran into? Oh, there's something. Oh, of course, Marival, of course. And of course, Marival. We can't forget the Marival. I wish we could, but.
And those white-robed Kargul things.
Yes, the white-robed Kargul things are the latest version of the Kargul. Apparently, the meanest Morgul version of Kargul, who you have up there, who are real nasty. I guess those are.
Well, the city's white, so I guess they decided that the Kargul needed to be white too.
Yes, I guess you got a point there. And that takes care. Anybody else has anything they wish to add concerning this quest pack?
Beware of water. Some of the water is evil and will try to kill you, and might succeed. And the gloom waters will spit it at you, and that hurts just as much as falling into it. I feel like there's something else. Avoid spiders. Don't eat ancient evil for any meal.
Yeah.
The basics.
Anyone else have anything to add? All right. What about scores? What grade will you give this?
I'm gonna go with a B. Mostly because of the lag. The story was great. I could have done without the perpetual glow in Minas Ithil, because it got very headachy after a while, and you can only stare at that for so long. Bonus points for the anglerfish from hell. I mean, like I said before, if they were aiming for just an extremely unsettling, unique mob that we'd never seen the like of before, they nailed it.
Yes.
But I mean, when you're going into someplace that's called the Filth Well, you really shouldn't be expecting it to be a fun field trip. So, I mean, all the places that we went to were very appropriately named. I haven't felt that anything was trying to kill me as much as, I mean, like the entire landscape was out to get me, near that Filthwell instance. I haven't felt like that in game since Agronith, aka the Bloody Gore. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just one of the very many fun things about questing in Mordor. I'm so glad to leave it behind.
You're glad we're heading north next.
I'm glad we're heading north. I'm actually almost even grateful to go see bears.
Oh,
Almost.
my.
Almost.
Now, that's the question we have to decide whether next we're going to go to the bears or go to Scarhold. So that's the choice that we have, because going to Scarhold will start with the Durin's book, and then of course going to Bjorning Hus will start the update 26, the landscape quest. All right, Sans, what do you give it?
Shelob ate me. I think it gets a B. Shelob ate me. It was a very well done area. I liked the way that everything fit the way it should be, and it was all evil and trying to kill you. I really enjoyed what they did with Thuringwath. It was very creepy, but it still looked really cool. yeah, not being able to get through that 4th tier of Minas Morgul was a real pain. And being ported all the way back outside the towers to a campfire did not help that be less of a pain. I did not try it solo, so I don't know how soloable it was.
Oh, Minas Morgul?
Yeah.
My
Runekeeper is...
Oh.
My Runekeeper is safely at the Bjorning house still.
Yeah. Well, my soloing of it was with a warden, so...
Yeah.
You have that. I did do a YouTube series on Minas Morgul where I went through there.
I think it would be a different experience solo. But there weren't too many solo instances where you ended up fighting for your life and ending up halfway across the landscape. So that was really nice. Across the landscape by death. So, there were some hairy instances, though, that took a lot of kiting and were solo only.
Yeah.
But yeah, she loved
Can I just say that this solo only option for instances that have a fight, whereas you can go into fellowship for stuff that's just talking, that needs to stop. Because some of those fights are really hard. Like, I didn't have any trouble with it, but I know some people would have trouble. Because, like, if I had gone in with a squishier alt, I definitely would not have been able to make it through some of that. So, at least make it a duo or a trio or something. Trio is like the optimum number, I feel, for instances where you need a little bit of help.
But don't scale it for a trio.
No.
Because some of the trios are like a warden and a hunter and a champion, and that makes trio content really difficult if you assume that we're a different group.
Yeah.
Just saying.
You don't have a healer.
And my mini likes running with glowy hands, so she appreciates any instances where she can do that.
Yeah. Now,
but
I did do Minas Morgul on a lore master, so I did solo with the lore master on there. Blue line
with
lore
a pet
master.
to hide behind.
Yeah, so I did have a pet helping me along the way.
That's a good combination.
Yeah.
Yeah. My Runekeeper might make it through at some point and tell you more about it. My solo berg in Mordor Besieged had a blast, but hasn't gone beyond that. It was so much fun. That aria was great. The awesome aria kind of cancels out the eaten by Shelob part a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
That's why it's a B instead of a C.
Yes. I already had too many characters, probably, but it was awesome. And now they all need...
We didn't actually talk about that either, but I guess that was part of the update, was the aria that they did for the Ultimate Collection.
Yeah, and it was an amazing aria.
It was a great aria.
Like, the armor looks good. The weapons immediately do enough damage to kill things. And, it doesn't take a whole lot of setup to be able to get out into the game and start killing things.
Yeah, that's why my lore master was actually able to do all that stuff, because I think my lore master was... I forgot what level my lore master might have been 105, but I think I actually used the aria on her to get the 120 and had all that really great stuff added to it. Yeah, as I said, I was able to get through the content.
Like, that was pretty awesome. My recently aria'd burglar, who's not the one who was in Mordor Besieged, is working on Minas Tirith's dailies for scrolls again. And he's a little bit cranky, but...
I'm sorry.
Overall, that was an awesome aria package. So, yeah. And with more character slots on sale right now, arias are bound to go on sale again sometime. Yeah, I think I think I'd give it a B.
I know. I bought 5 character slots today because, okay, that's right, because I had 25 slots. Well, 25 is, now that there are 6 to a page, that's only 1 on the last page. Okay, so we're brought to an even 30. Now, as for what I will give it, I will also give it a B. I think it's pretty much a lot of the stuff is already being covered in there. That we had a little bit of the lag. The power drain thing sort of knocks a little bit off of that on there, but we had some great quest lines in there, and I am not as salty about the Black Book of Mordor and the Bjornings as Terry Adwin is, even if they can get a little bit annoying, I guess.
So you probably also managed to not be eaten by Shelob.
I'm sure I managed that at one point. Did I manage? I think I did manage that at one point. So, yeah, there is that. But I don't have quite the arachnophobia that you have.
True. Actually, being eaten was horrifying. The long run all the way back to the instance was the part where I stewed about it.
Yeah, there is that.
Like, not only was I unjustly eaten by Shelob, the most horrible spider I have ever seen, but also, I now have to run all the way back to potentially do this again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's hit it. Okay, I think that's enough for the quest pack. I think we've already spent the last 90 minutes on that. So let's into what we did last week in Lotro, if anyone still remembers. Erendis, you still here?
Yep, I'm still here. This week it was mostly just a lot of warging and playing around with friends on the Ettenmoors. I reached rank 5 for the first time, and we also celebrated Cinders' birthday, so shout out to Cinders, happy birthday. Other than that, I was part of the Girls of Middle-earth Reject stream that happened last week after the live show. It was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. Calabathian, how was your week?
Well, I finally got the Reminiscing Dragon mount and armor, etc., with Calabathian, my main, after completing the 10th card in the anniversary quests, and it only took me like 2 or 3 years to do, mostly because I haven't been a high enough level to complete a lot of that stuff until this year. I ran Celeborn through the Karn Doom instance through the anniversary event to emote at I want to say Helchgam, but I know that's not right.
No, it is. Helchgam.
It is? Yeah. But I got through all of this Karn Doom stuff and then got to Helchgam and forgot to do the emote because I got so into beating the boss. So I have to redo it now, and God, Karn Doom. And then of course I was out warging with on the moors with my warg Killian, and he got to rank 5 finally, and baby warg isn't as much of a baby warg now. Sniff, sniff. They grow up so fast. Horrendous. How about you?
Well, it was quite the week for me in Middle-earth. The day after all of the running about and Girls in Middle-earth, my epic Sunday was epic. I logged in, and my kin leader, Luinori, and then a kin mate, Aerodeath, whom we've been trying to help get plenty of gift giver brands, were both on early Sunday morning, and we took care of all of the roving threats in Angmar, including like the deed, went back and killed the last boss. I then went mortar questing and cleared out the rest of the quests in Lingris. In the afternoon, Sans and I went to the festival with our Yellow Line Hunters and got the Firestarter title, which was a lot of fun. And then I did mortar questing again, and Fushambal is done. I don't ever have to go in there again if I don't want to. but I was about ready to collapse by the time that day was over, I'll tell you. Later in the next day, and later in the week too, Sans and I went scavenger hunting with our characters to take care of some of the scavenger hunt quests. And outside of Ost-Engelbed for I think it was the year 5, where you go around to all the lakes to the reminiscences and collect them. There was a moment where, well, Sans, when I met you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. I went sailing out over a cliff, found the red circle, and she just barely managed to get slowed down enough to like bounce off of the cliff and break legs for quite some time. That was a very hilarious moment.
I think I got a full minute of broken legs.
And a warging, I went, did some work on my warg yesterday, and then ran around today to celebrate Cinder's birthday, and I am up to rank 4 on my warg now. Since Window, what did you get up to this week?
Well, as you have already heard, much festivaling was accomplished, and I was logging in characters to collect envelopes too, but no toast emote yet. So we'll see if I can get enough characters to collect enough envelopes to get at least one of those this year.
I'm rooting for you.
Hey. I discovered like none of my characters on Arkenstone seem to have it, so I really need to work on that there too. And my warg nommed many things on the moors and enjoyed howling at the moon. Still rank 6, but working my way to rank 7. So that's pretty cool. And then I took an Ariadberg to Feligoth with the field trip in Timberg. And that was pretty fun too. My poor Ariadberg had really only been in Minas Tirith doing dailies, so it was nice to get a little trip out, even if it was to Mirkwood. Yeah, I know. How was your week, Terry?
Well, Terry Edwin finally finished out Minas Morgul so that we could do this update. Yay! I don't have to go back in there, because guess who's not doing dailies again? And not just because there's new content released. There's still way too much lag in the city. Hopefully there won't be so much going back to see the bears. But yeah, she's really, 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 really glad to be down in the Morgul Vale. So glad that she's actually almost looking forward to going to see bears. But you know what? If we can go start story stuff in Scarhold, we might do that instead. Sarissa is working through the anniversary scavenger hunt as a solo berg. 5-minute cooldowns on travel skills is still the best purchase I ever made for the solo berg, who happens to be world renowned, so she has returns to everywhere. And a second milestone, so she still has her Faramir's Lookout milestone, but the other one I've kind of been shifting around, because for year 2, you have to do 2 reflection instances in Evendim, and she hadn't actually done them the first time. So not only had she not done the instances, she hadn't done the quest chains leading up to the instances. So she did the really long quest chain that is reforging Aragorn's sword. And it's really long, because it starts in Rivendell, and then it continues in Rivendell, and then it goes to Tinadir, and you do a bunch of stuff up at Osferad, and you have to deal with all the rangers, and then they go send you to talk to the lady who calls Callinglet a hamster in a later instance, which actually is an earlier instance, because Sarissa's already been through that. Yeah, and then she finally got to talk to the turtle, and I hadn't really paid attention to the quest text in that before, because the one other time I did it was with a Girls of Middle-earth thing, and so somebody else was kind of running through, and we were basically just running through, so I didn't have time to read anything, because you're going through as a group, so if one person's continuing, everybody's continuing. So that's the first time I actually read the quest text, and she tells you specifically not to wake up the turtle. Not only that, she yells at you for waking up the turtle, and you're not even the one who woke up the turtle.
NPCs.
It's like, see, I didn't wake the turtle up. He woke up. The Kurgrim did it. But, she doesn't care. She's just salty that you had to kill the turtle, which I was okay. I mean, like, I'm a burglar. I could have snuck in there and got that thing. But no, they didn't let me. I had to kill all the things. Yeah, so she's finished year 2 and is into year 3. Which was hilarious because she had to go into pre-battle Osgiliath, which, is full of the enemy. Including when she went there, a roving threat Mimikil on the Great Bridge to get remembrances for Boromir, and she skulked in stealth, like, alongside, because there's not a lot of space around that bridge, but when the Mimikil's on it, there's no space beyond the Mimikil. So, but fortunately, her stealth was really good, so she kind of zipped through there and didn't get smushed, and got her stuff done, and was very sad that there's not a milestone in the culverts that she can set, because that totally would have been her second milestone if she could have set a second milestone in the culverts. Because she's definitely going to be creeping around Osgiliath in the near future when she gets back to doing her landscape questing. And then I, too, nommed some things in the moors, but actually I did less nomming than everybody else, because it turns out that I get more infamy from the PvE quests. I get comms from nomming stuff, but I don't really need the comms as much, because I'm really trying to make it to rank 8, and I'm still not there. So that was my week. How about you, Pineleaf?
And I'll begin with my Honor Warden, who went through the Ease of Fanghorn and woke up some Ents, or at least tried to wake up some Ents, and looked at their memories. Then in Friday Night Fights, we first wanted to do the new instance where you're supposed to fight the 9 Nazgul, but...
What?
Well, at least they wanted to. They wanted to, but I didn't have the deed unlocked because I never killed the Nazgul that were in the Scourge Nazgul that were in the Last Alliance thing.
That's a thing.
I
didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. So they wanted to run that, and we couldn't run it because I didn't have it unlocked. So instead we ran the Bells of Dale, then we ran Defense of the Prancing Pony, then Breaching the Necromancer's Gate. And in the course of running the latter two, I gained a total of 3 Starlight Crystals during those skirmishes. It's like 3 Starlight Crystals in
Nice.
the course. I think that's a record for running 2 Tier 1 skirmishes, for me at least. And I think I've gotten 3 when running a series of 3 skirmish raids at Tier 3 or Tier 2, but 6 player instances at Tier 1, getting 3 of them is a nice haul. Then, after that, let's see, then on Saturday, so this afternoon, they told me that they do the roving threats of Gondor on Saturday afternoon, so I joined them for that. We went around killing the roving threats that are in Western Gondor, then Central Gondor, then Eastern Gondor, or there aren't any in Eastern Gondor, but then the ones in the Waste, and we went over to the Waste and did those. Then after that, then we go into Mordor Besieged, and there we went and killed off the Nazgul. So I may be seeing that instance in the near future, since that, of course, unlocked that instance for me, since we went and killed all 9 of the Nazgul, or at least temporarily set them back and made them very angry at us. Because you know how Nazgul are. And that is my week in Lotro. Whew. As for news beyond Lotro, Darren Loremaster has another Riddles in the Dark, and wallpaper. This is stanza number 6. We currently have 13 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious radio players and help support Lotro players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find various rewards, and your money will be used for our podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. And if you'd like to support this without joining Patreon, you could send a donation to Draculetta at email at drac@lotroplayers.com. And we actually have an email this week from Roger. Who would like to read Roger's email?
I can read it, I don't mind.
Right?
Roger writes, "Greetings, Lotro Players podcast. I have recently returned to Lotro after a long break, like just after Moria came out. I have rolled a Bjorning because it is the only class I have not played. Of course, after this long, all the classes will seem new. I am really enjoying the class and enjoying being back in Lotro. When I returned to Lotro, I started looking for podcasts to listen to. I first started listening to Lotro Academy, and I really enjoyed that podcast even though it is outdated. I started listening to your podcast because I wanted something current to listen to as well. Imagine my surprise to hear Pineleaf from Lotro Academy on Lotro Players. I was very happy to hear a familiar voice on this podcast. I'm sorry, I'm still learning everyone else's voices and names. It will take me a few episodes to get them right. No worries, there are quite a few of us. Yeah. Thank you all for doing this podcast. I look forward to it every week. With good cheer to all, Roger."
Yes. And also we have since Winda and Terry Adwin were both or maybe you haven't got to those episodes yet. They've also
Probably not.
Yeah, but they've also done some episodes of Lotro Players, of Lotro Academy.
Lotro Academy, yeah.
Yes.
And the field trip still meets on Fridays.
Yes, we still have the field. Yes, strangely enough, the field trip is still meeting on Fridays on
Arkenstone.
Yes.
And the kinship is still on Arkenstone, too.
Yeah, the kinship is still on Arkenstone, meeting at 6 p.m. on Fridays. That is, of course, 6 p.m. server time. If you would like to email us, you could send it to podcast@lotroplayers.com, and you can also follow us on Twitter, the Players Alliance @PlayersAlliance, Lotroplayers @LotroPlayers, Arendis @Arendis, Pineleaf @Pineleaf, Needles, Sanswinda @Sanswinda, Terry Edwin @Terry Edwin, Guarendis @Guarendis, and Calabathian @Calabathian. The Players Alliance has 3 shows on Mondays at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News. On Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Lotro Players News, and XP Quest is back, and you can follow at XP Quest on Twitter to find out when their shows go live. And I should note that for XP Quest, viewer discretion is advised. I have been told several times that this podcast, XP Quest, is not Pineleaf friendly. You could join us for our shows at lotroplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to socialize responsibly.